This man is having the worst dinner of his life. His name is Kel. He thought he is on a casual date night with his wife, but she suddenly tells him she wants a divorce after 25 years of marriage. Kel is shocked and left speechless. Then they finish dinner with absolute silence and get into the car to go back home. However, the silence starts driving his wife Emily crazy, so out of frustration, she begins talking nonstop to explain herself, eventually blurting out that she has cheated with her co-worker. That's it. Kel has had enough. Unable to take it anymore, he jumps straight out of the moving car. But Emily doesn't just drive off, leaving Kel stranded on the side of the road. Realizing he can't outrun the situation, Kel eventually gives up and heads back home. But he isn't there to fix his marriage. He's only there to pack his bags and say goodbye to his kids. We learn the couples have 3 children together. Their oldest daughter is away studying law. There is 13-year-old son who is in love with his nanny. And there is the youngest daughter, who is only 6. This is Jessica, the 17-year-old neighbor, who is the children's nanny. It turns out, Jessica has a huge crush on Kel, and hearing about the divorce only makes her love him more. Ever since that night, Kel has been secretly crying at work. His co-workers hear him sobbing and assume he has cancer, but when they find out he's actually just getting a divorce, they literally start celebrating out of relief. Heartbroken and completely misunderstood, Kel ends up drinking at a bar every single day. He tries to talk about his wife's betrayal to anyone who will listen, but nobody cares. He feels completely alone, until he meets the man who will change his life. The man is called Jacob. He is an absolute expert with women. A couple of smooth pickup lines, a few drinks, and he spends the night with whoever he wants. One night, Jacob finally snaps. Fed up with watching Kel whine, he sends off the beautiful woman sitting right next to him and calls Kel to have chat. He tells him his wife's infidelity wasn't just her fault, it was Kel's as well. Jacob claims Kel's lifestyle is pathetic, and his lack of masculinity made his wife lose interest. But then, Jacob strikes a deal. If Kel cooperates, Jacob will help him find his manhood again and make his wife regret everything she did. When a skeptical Kel asks why Jacob is being so helpful, Jacob merely says that Kel reminds him of someone he knows. The next day, Kel rents a small apartment and brings his 2 younger kids and their nanny to show them his place. Then Kel left to meet up with Jacob for his transformation. Meanwhile, Kel's son tries to ask his nanny Jessica out on a date but fails miserably. On the other side, Jacob shows up wearing a suit. When he sees Kel's simple outfit with sneakers, Jacob disgusted. He made him strip off his shoes and toss him away. Jacob wasn't finished. He forces him to buy a completely new wardrobe for a total upgrade. A crisp new haircut polished off the look, and just like that, Kel was a completely different person. But the glow-up was only skin deep, so Jacob dragged him to a bar, determined to teach him how to pick up women. But it was a total bust. Every time Kel tried to flirt, unable to stop obsessing over his ex-wife. It didn't matter how good he looked, he was still haunted by his past. Still, Jacob doesn't lose hope. Night after night, he coaches him. Finally, one night, Kel decides to try his luck with a pretty girl. He uses the tips he learned from Jacob and starts talking to her charmingly, which actually gets her interested. But Kel quickly messes things up and makes the conversation incredibly awkward. She gets up to leave, but at the last second, he drops one of Jacob's signature pickup lines. Against all odds, it works, and they end up staying the night together. And from that day on, Kel becomes a brand new man, sleeping with different women in just 1 week. Jacob watches him from across the room with pure pride. On the other side of town, Kel's son tries to express his love to Jessica in front of the whole school, but she angrily shuts him down, telling him she will never love him. But the real chaos begins on Parents' Day at school, where Kel and his wife meet up, and Kel decides to use his new charm to win her back. His new confidence actually works, and regret begins to show on Emily's face. But just as a spark of love reappears, the teacher calls them into the office. And fortunately, the teacher happens to be the woman Kel spent the night with at the club for the first time. Kel tries to pretend nothing happened between them, but driven by jealousy, the teacher tells his wife everything. From there, the situation completely goes out of control. Emily storms out of the class furious. Kel runs after her to explain, ignoring the group of parents standing nearby. He tries to justify himself, but Emily snaps, saying she shouldn't even bother being angry about his flings. Taking advantage of this, Kel foolishly boasts about sleeping with 9 different women in such a short time. All the parents overhear him and realize what a womanizer he is. Shocked by his behavior, his wife leaves him right where he stands. After all this trouble, Kel calls Jacob to tell him what went down, but Jacob doesn't answer his phone, completely distracted by a woman who he met at bar, making Kel can't reach him the way he used to. On the other side, Kel's wife starts dating her co-worker to move on with her life, yet she finds herself unable to forget Kel. Kel is also struggling to let go. He sneaks around at night just to see her, and from time to time, they still call one another using petty excuses just to hear each other's voice. Soon after, Jacob calls Kel with big news that he's met a beautiful woman who is a total game changer. Jacob admits he's so deeply in love that he wants wants to meet her family, and he asks Kel for advice. Kel can't believe the legendary player is asking him for romantic advice, but tells him not to just be himself and hangs up. But then comes the most horrible day of Kel's life. The nanny, Jessica, has taken various nude photos of herself and put it in the post paper to send to Kel, and her family caught her. That same day, Kel is waiting to reconcile with his wife in front of the children. He is preparing to propose to his wife all over again, but who walks through the door is the eldest daughter's lover. Shocked Kel, because it was Jacob. Kel cannot believe his eyes, and Jacob is equally horrified. Neither Emily nor the children understand what's happening. In this total confusion, a huge man jumps on Kel and starts attacking him. It is the nanny's father. He thinks Kel is the one who made his daughter take those nude photos. Seeing his friend in danger, Jacob jumps in, grabs the father's hand, and saves Kel. But Kel is furious at Jacob and turns on him. In a matter of seconds, the place turned into a battlefield. The nanny's father is screaming and throwing things at Kel. Finally, the nanny arrives and drops the truth. It wasn't Kel's fault, and Kel didn't know anything. In fact, she admits she is deeply in love with Kel. Hearing this, Kel's son is absolutely heartbroken. To make matters worse, Emily's co-worker, the man she originally cheated with, arrives at the house to claim her. When Kel sees him, he goes to attack him, but Jacob steps in to hit the co-worker first. The fight starts all over again. It becomes a total four-way brawl, until the police finally arrive and break them all up. Kel's family was finished with him, fed up with the chaos. Even his beloved son turns his back on him because of the nanny. Kel left and become completely alone again, and the only person who comes to comfort him is Jacob, who reassures him that his family is fine, revealing that Jacob and Kel's lawyer daughter have been together ever since. After living in silence for a while, Kel decides to face his fears and attends his son's graduation to see his family. When he arrives, Jacob is sitting right next to Kel's wife and daughter, so Kel sits at the last row. Then the son takes the stage for his graduation speech and tells the crowd that his heart is broken by his parents' failed marriage. He explains how he used to believe in soulmates and love, but now realizes it's all a scam. Hearing his son's bad view of love, Kel can't control his emotions. He stands up from the crowd, interrupts the speech, and starts telling everyone that he doesn't like his son's speech because he used to believe in love and he used to keep fighting for it. Kel starts pouring his heart out, talking about how much he has loved his wife since he was 15 years old. Emily is deeply touched by his words. Inspired by his father, the son's heart changes immediately and loudly proclaims that he loves his nanny. The entire crowd bursts out laughing. In the end, after months of pure misery, the family is finally happy. Kel gives his support to his son's feelings and accepts Jacob's relationship with his daughter. He walks up to his wife, and they start talking to fix everything they messed up. Meanwhile, the son tries to convince the nanny that he will grow up to look just like his father, the man she fell for. With smile, Jessica hands him the photo she originally took for Kel and says goodbye. And that is Kel and his family story from Stupid and Crazy Love Movie. The moral of the story is forgiveness rewrites the future by letting go of resentment. You clear the space needed for healing, growth, and rebuilding what was broken.